page.
With the hood whisperer, Tesla Figaro.
Yes.
Hey.
We got to start off with sports, though. John Morant, it seems like he's entering a counseling program. Now, reported from ESPN, the Grizzlies superstar has entered a counseling program in Florida, and there is no current timetable as to when he will return.
And he should take his time because, he got a long career ahead of him. So, whatever he got to do mentally, emotionally, physically to get back right, go do it.
Well, you need counseling for showing a pistol on Instagram?
You never know what kind of traumas people be dealing with that cause them to act out in that way.
I've been pistol.
Yeah, but
let me. I think we in tune, girl. I've been pistol whooping. I've never branded a pistol on Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, I want to add some context on that. Context, Envy. I want to add some context on that because yesterday folks were saying, oh, Lord, she's saying don't take accountability. And that is not what we were saying. We always say more than one thing can be true at one time, but just to really simplify this, he's apologized. He was penalized. He lost his deals. He's now suspended indefinitely. He's going to rehab, but I still stand by what I say, Charlamagne, when I say that black men are sentenced or punished more harshly than others, but that does not mean that he should not take accountability for his actions. But like Ms. Pat just said, there are no laws were broken, but at the same time, he is accepting accountability. It kind of bothered me to hear people say, oh, he's not accepting accountability. He is accepting accountability. He's getting all of the consequences for his actions. But I think we got to be really careful with that and make sure that we understand the difference, that it's not a zero-sum game. You can have consequences, but also understand, had it been somebody else, maybe it wouldn't have been as harsh.
I don't know about that with John, only because it's been a series of incidents. Like, this wasn't an isolated incident. That's what I'm saying. That's why I hope that
that's true too.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad.
I'm talking about the broader. I'm talking about the broader, concept of that when we do something, we got to go to counseling. We got to be brought to kneel. Mm-hmm. We have to lose all our deals. We have to lose our pay. We're suspended indefinitely. Just the broader context of, how when we do something, we're held to a higher standard. That's just a statistical fact.
That's a fact. But I'm still glad that John's going to get whatever help it is that he clearly needs.
Clear his mind a little bit.
Can I ask y'all what help he
needs
at the same time for having a pistol? I mean, he didn't shoot nobody. He was just waving it. What help do he need?
He's an NBA player.
He shouldn't have no pistol.
Worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
He got security.
But was the pistol in his name?
I don't
know.
It don't
matter. He shouldn't have had it, though. I don't think.
And flashing it on Instagram, stop it.
In the strip club.
Let's not make excuses for.
He shouldn't have that.
I always say, but you know what?
For terrible behavior.
Somebody needs to teach their kids how to lie, because that was my son. I would have told him that was a cigarette lighter.
Now they're warning you. Maybe you shouldn't go to Mexico for spring break.
Right.
Texas authorities are issuing an urgent warning against travel to Mexico.
Because right now it is too dangerous.
The latest State Department advisory also covering much of the country. Officials urging Americans to exercise increased caution in hotspots like Cancun and Cabo and reconsider travel in popular cities like Puerto Vallarta. A strict do not travel alert posted to 6 additional Mexican states, all due to an increased risk of crime and kidnapping, including a high level of drug cartel violence.
So that's what they're saying. Well, Mexico president, he responded.
Es más seguro México que Estados Unidos. Y
For real?
No hay ningún problema para viajar.
Let me tell you what he said. Let me tell you what he said. Go ahead, Miss Pat, tell us what he said.
I speak Ebonics, not Spanish.
Now he basically
said it's cool to come.
No, he said it's he said it's actually safer in Mexico than it is in America, and he said he believes it's a campaign against Mexico from conservative U.S. politicians that don't want this country to keep developing for the good of the Mexican people. He said there were some areas where the country had a security crisis, but he said that's not where the tourist places are. That's more locally.
Oh, so basically he's saying it's just like when you come to America, if you take your ass to certain hoods in this country, it's going to go down, you're going to get robbed. But if you go to certain places in Mexico, it's going to happen the same way. You just got to know where to go.
Correct.
Well, I'm not going to Mexico. I'm scared. I'm not even eating Taco Bell. That's how scary I am. I'm not eating authentic Mexican. I'm not eating Taco Bell. I'm staying away from everything. I don't want her burrito, the hat they be wearing.
Sombrero.
Oh, yeah, that.
I thought you said a burrito, no, sombrero.
I'm not even doing that. I don't want nothing to do. Not at all. I love you Mexican people. I just can't go to Mexico. And I'm not doing it. I don't even want to talk to nobody with the M in their name. What's your name, Charlamagne?
What you mean? Charlamagne.
What's your name? Charlamagne?
What? You confused me. I was like, huh? I'm about to say Leonard.
And lastly,
you Leonard.
California's pushing for $360,000 per person in reparations.
What?
Yes,
What are we saying about that?
Yes, indeed. Well, 360,000 is nearly not enough. We need so much more. We need to absolutely cut the check. But just for clarity, California, and shout out to the grassroots that has been pushing this and bumping this conversation up. And as we know, this has been talked about for years and years. California says that the task force, and just to be clear, it is just a task force right now. So they just make recommendations, Charlamagne. They just say, hey, this is what we think should happen, and this is how we should actually give back those who are the descendants of those who were enslaved back the money for what happened to our ancestors. And so they're recommending $360,000 per person. But the problem is, before they even make that in the law or even get to the task force, folks are saying, hold on, wait a minute. California doesn't have the money. We're at a deficit. We don't need to give it to anybody. And so the task force is still pushing for that. And I encourage people to be involved. But the main thing is that even if it goes through the task force and they make the recommendation, the key word is the recommendation. And that is why I push so hard to say we have to have candidates that are in place, that are pro-reparationists, that will actually be there to vote it in. Because no matter how many task force you have or recommendations or HR 40 or conversations around it, if we do not have the elected officials to actually vote it in, then nothing happens. So I'm excited about this, though, because now there's a new energy around it. The grassroots is talking about it. And tonight, our sister Erica Alexander on the Black Effect Podcast Network, her and I were going to have a conversation to chop it up a little bit deeper, to go a little bit deeper into this conversation on fan base, Black-owned fan base, this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern.
I wonder if politically reparations is something a politician could run with on a national platform and garner support. Because it's not about what we deserve. I know we deserve it as black people, but could someone take reparations as a political talking point and make it one of the main things they campaign with and be successful?
I support them. Just don't give it to my relatives who smoke crack. We gonna be back at where we started at. Everybody shouldn't get it. I'm just saying, you got a drug habit, you don't get no reparation. That go to your child who ain't doing drugs. But
what if we use that money to help them get clean?
You can't. You don't know nothing about no crackheads. That ain't how crackheads get clean. So boy, you need to mind your business. I'm not wasting no $360,000 to get nobody clean. I've no crack who been smoking for 30 years. That stuff is in their skin.
Oh my goodness. That's Miss Pat. Tez, thank you. We'll see you next hour. Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. It's time for front page news. We have Miss Pat, our co-host, and we got Tez checking back in with us.
Absolutely. Good morning, family.
Now, Tez, where do you want to start? You want to start with Councilman Eric Mays?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Now, he was convicted of disorderly conduct. Now, what happened now?
Man, first of all, if anybody has been following Eric Mays on Twitter or TikTok, he is really literally becoming a political star. I've been following his career, DJ Envy, for quite a minute when I went out to Flint in 2016 working on the Bernie Sanders campaign. But he has been known as someone that has been absolutely vocal, very entertaining, and he just doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care what needs to be said. He speaks up. He stands up for his people, and he's actually been in office for over 10 years and has not lost an election because he's so bold, kind of like the things that we wish we could see in Congress. So he has been convicted of disorderly conduct. But what I want to make clear is a lot of the content that you see about Eric Mays on social media, that was not what he got in trouble for. He got in trouble pretty much, DJ NB, for getting out of his seat. Now, he said that there is proof that he did ask for permission to get out of his seat. He has the video for it. So now he's asking the judge to throw it out, and he may possibly go to the Court of Appeals. But I want people to hear just a little bit of something of how Eric Mays gets down. Let's check out the clip.
What am I covering up that you just accused me of? Go ahead, the mic is yours. See, Chief, you discrediting yourself in front of me. I think you're a liar to say I'm gonna cover up. You the police. Tell this public what you accusing me of covering up. Is it dope? Is it girls? Is it because I'm talking about some of what I think you don't want to come out. So go ahead. You said it with a frown on your face. You the big man. Tell this public and council, I'm asking you respectfully, what am I covering up? Or you just said that to try to defame or discredit me because I said you knew about the Booth case. Go ahead, don't get quiet now.
That's your time.
I'll call him back up in the second round.
He's like, don't get quiet now. I know where your hoes at.
And that's the
I
chief
know you
of
got
police,
hoes.
y'all.
I know
So-
you got hoes. I know you smoke dope.
So wait a minute, you can't stand up. If you stand up, you get a fine, even if I got to go to the bathroom?
Well, in the rules of order, and it wasn't that particular incident, just for clarity, it was April of last year. And in the rules of order, you have to ask for permission to be able to get out of your seat. And so Councilman Mays did ask for permission, and they have it on tape that the chairwoman did say, yes, you can get out of your seat. And so when he got out of his seat and he came back, that is when they said, hey, you were never supposed to leave in the first place, basically. And so they arrested him on the spot. So this was just about him getting out of his seat, but it's a larger issue because there's a lot of corruption in Flint, as we know. Obviously, with the Flint water crisis, he was very instrumental in that. So they've just been on him nonstop. And so young people have taken Eric Mays' content and they have made him, an absolute political star. And so it's a lot going on in Flint. We're going to talk about it tonight, shameless plug, on the Straight Shot No Chaser podcast at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time on Twitter. And I'm going to have Mr. Mays live to take us through step by step on why, he's had such a hard time in Flint.
I gotta start checking him out.
I like him, boy. He don't.
Oh
do
man,
nothing.
it's hilarious.
He be cussing
hilarious.
them white people out.
Oh, he be cussing out folks.
He tell all they business.
He told one councilman to stick it up his council seat. I'm talking about Mr. Mays gets down.
He sound like Miss Pat cousin Herschel Walker with sense.
Yes.
Herschel Walker is not my cousin. Okay, don't be he from South Carolina, where you from, with that skull cap on. Look like you about to go rob a gas station.
Now, yesterday we talked about the Silicon Valley Bank and what happened with him. Well, your president, he spoke about it.
Treasury Secretary Yellen and a team of banking regulators have taken action, immediate action. And here are the highlights. First, all customers who had deposits in these banks can rest assured they'll be protected and they'll have access to their money as of today. That includes small businesses across the country that bank there and need to make payroll, pay their bills, and stay open for business. No losses will be borne by the taxpayers. Instead, the money will come from the fees that banks pay into the deposit insurance fund. Because of the actions that our regulators have already taken, every American should feel confident that their deposits will be there if and when they need them. Second, the management of these banks will be fired. If the bank is taken over by FDIC, the people running the bank should not work there anymore.
Well, if it's from the fees, don't we pay the fees?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the fees are actually from an insurance company that banks pay into from their fees. So basically, in simple terms, what the president is saying is it's not going to come from the taxpayers. The fees is pretty much like you pay insurance policy. Banks pay insurance in order to cover things like this, which is very different from the first bank bailout when it actually was the taxpayers. So as it stands now, President Biden is saying, hey, the taxpayers aren't going to have to pay anything for this. It's coming out of the bank fees. And as you heard him clearly say, people who screwed up, basically in simple terms, should be fired. But the funny part about it is Republicans are saying, hey, Biden, that's you. So they're going to use this as a major talking point as we approach the 2024 election. Trump has already said, hey, this is all Biden's fault. DeSantis has came out saying the same thing. And he's even said, well, if the banks weren't so focused on diversity and equity and inclusion, this wouldn't be a problem, which has nothing to do with anything, by the way. So this is getting ready to be a political football that will go back and forth in the blame game. But so far, folks were allegedly supposed to be able to get their money yesterday. I don't know. Y'all call up and let us know if you were able to cash your check yesterday. But allegedly, it was available to everyone on yesterday. They said that they have it under control. They are now, making sure that it never happens again. And President Biden said he is asking Congress to strengthen laws to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Tez, you know what, Tez? It's interesting, though, right? Because once again, we the people get to see that America pays for what it wants to pay for. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. Which again, reparations now. And I know we joked about it earlier about what folks would do with the money or not do with the money. And at the end of the day, we don't hold these banks accountable on what they're doing with the money. So regardless of whatever we do, go ahead and cut the check. So you see that there was an immediate response. As soon as we got off the air, President Biden, came out and said, oh, hold up, we want to make sure we got everything under control. But when it comes to issues that concern us, it's always thoughts and prayers.
And it's not just reparations, money for student loan forgiveness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Across the board.
Non-police reforms of public safety and community
housing,
support, social services, youth services, housing, like you just said, education, mental mental health
Social
initiatives.
Security. Right, the list goes on and
community resources, but money to bail out banks and fund wars, oh, they got that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do after I get off the air. I'm going to Silicon Bank and get my money.
You ain't got no
money in there.
They don't know who got money in there. They don't know who got money in there.
Well, I would say this. Yesterday, I think every bank started writing letters to all their people, all their clients, to make sure that people are not scared and pulling their money out. I got a bunch of letters yesterday. I don't know if you got letters or if you got letters.
I ain't getting nothing.
I don't have that kind of money in me. They didn't send me no letters. They told me, don't worry about it. Your $32 is going to be here, man. So.
I saw a story from Giannis. I can't pronounce his last name. The guy whose last name looked like a line on an eye chart.
The Greek Freak?
Greek Freak.
Yeah.
I saw something where he puts $250,000 in like 50 different banks.
Yeah, so it's always insured.
Yeah, he got like $250,000 at like 50 different banks. You don't put a big lump sum of money.
Me neither. I don't do that either.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I don't either. I got like.
I'll be like my uncle. Put it under the mattress. It look like we need to put it under the mattress for a little bit.
My mama always said, "Put it up top, because can't nobody pull this off of you."
That's right. The Southern Bank.
The Southern Bank. Thank you, sister.
But then you're gonna have to wear a bra.
Well, that's all right if I'm holding on to something good.
That's right. We got enough to hold it if it's fat over. We did that yesterday. That story yesterday.
That said she just holding on to Chick-fil-A what?
Crumbs. Because you know I'm top heavy. All the crumbs falling down. And then when I'm just snacking, I just dig that. Well, whatever.
Taz, thank you for joining us this morning.
Peace, Taz. And make sure you listen to Taz on the Straight Shot No Chaser podcast on the Black Effect iHeartRadio Podcast Network.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty now. Now, when we come back, Miles Frost will be joining us. Of course, he plays Michael Jackson in the Broadway play, and we're going to kick it with him next. So don't move. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.